We're at the base of the change. We're not even at the acceleration of the change. And in the next 5 years, there'll be more change that's happened in the history of mankind between nanotechnology, obviously from AI, obviously from robotics, right? So many things that are coming here. A lot of jobs are going to be disrupted depending on whose studies you read, 40, 50% of the jobs. So how do I make sure my kids and grandkids can do well, or you and I can do well, no matter what happens in the world? I think you need 3 skills. Skill 1, you get good at the recognition of patterns. Everything's patterns, history's patterns, financial patterns, company patterns. What you don't get angry all the time, you don't smoke all the time, or you don't drink all the time. You do those things when you're bored, or when you're triggered by sadness, or when you feel alone. So once you understand patterns, you have less fear because the world is in chaos anymore. And so I really started to get good at studying patterns of all sorts. And then the second skill, though, is if you can use the patterns, now you have power. You don't just know it's happening, you know how to use it. So that's what a great financial trader does. So I've worked with Paul Tudor Jones for 24 years, one of the greatest traders in history. It's all patterns. If you look at somebody who's great with music or singing, they know how to use the sound or the movement of the body to produce a result. A great director knows when to come in, when to come out, what to do with the music. But there's not unlimited patterns. And when you learn how to use them, it's like learning to play the other people's piano. But then the ultimate level is when you become a creator of patterns. That's when you're able to do things that no one else does. You become a master of your particular domain of focus. So I look at those 3 skill sets and I say, I want to make sure that I had that in as many areas as possible. And when I learned how to do that, that's when I started getting the calls, because I did it to me first. And then all of a sudden I get the phone call when the kid is suicidal. And knock on wood, I've never lost one, done thousands of them. And we've got, there's a documentary on Netflix called Tony Robbins, I'm Not Your Guru.
Great.
If you go there and watch it, you see it?
Two people. I mean,
yeah. It's mind-boggling. And what happens is you get to see people, but you see them 5 years later too, and what's happened to them, which is pretty amazing because they're no longer suicidal, obviously.
One of them is actually now a life coach in Berlin.
That's right.
Which is incredible.
That's right. You've done your homework. So anyway, long story shortened, the bottom line is when I understood that, then that's how I started getting people like the President of the United States, or, somebody coming to me saying, what am I going to do? I remember I got a phone call in the middle of the afternoon one day. It's President of the United States, Bill Clinton, saying, they're going to impeach me in the morning. What should I do? And my first response was, could you call me sooner? It's tomorrow morning. But because I had no net, and I'd go like Serena Williams, she can't get back on the court. Her sister got killed, and it's US Open. And I got to deliver it now. That having no net, but also having developed enough patterns gave me a capacity to create patterns that produce results that people had never seen before. And then I started doing it in business. So now I have 114 companies. We do $9 billion in business now, and across all these different industries. I had no traditional college education in business. It was just all modeling. Jim Rohn taught me success leaves clues. That if someone is successful, not for a day or a week or a month or a year, but a decade or more, they're not lucky. They're doing something different than you. So figure out what that is. And so most of my books are that. Like I wanted to help people financially after 2008. I was pissed off. I knew a lot in that area. But I'm like, okay, let me interview 50 of the smartest financial people in the world. And they're all different, but let's extract what do they have in common. And my billionaire clients loved it, but the average person loved it. It's a New York Times #1 bestseller and millions of copies sold because people could take it and actually change their life. Did the same thing with Life Force. Interviewed 150 of the greatest regenerative medicine doctors in the world, Nobel Prize winners. Because right now, the breakthroughs that happen today on average take 17 years from the time of the breakthrough to your clinician will start to talk to you about it. I was like, I want to blow out that 17 years. So let me write the book and empower people and show them what's happening with stem cells and exosomes and all these different technologies. And so because of that, I'm able to expand so rapidly because I'm good at pulling out those patterns. And then I know how to put them in a format that makes people really change and has fun doing it. Because I believe that, look, we're not in an information culture anymore. The information society died a long time ago. There's too much information. You're drowning in information and starving for wisdom. But we are an entertainment culture today. So you got to capture people's attention. And most people don't have a long attention span. I got to hold them for 12 hours or 13 for 4 or 6 days. When they wouldn't sit for a 3-hour movie, someone spent $300 million on it, and they're a stadium of 20,000 people. I got to get the guy at the top to be engaged. I've learned how to do that. It's a skill set to be able to do that. But it came from learning all these patterns. So I entertain them first, get them have the greatest experience, laughter, joy, fun, playfulness, tears sometimes. But then that gives me right for the second E&E cubed. I educate them. I give them tools that I have modeled from the very best on earth that work, they're proven, and that are cutting edge. And then they get results. And then while they're there, I empower them to practice with real human beings and see what works and doesn't. So they don't just leave there uncertain. So that's why, one of the reasons why so many people get such lasting results is because we have a process and we do it for everything. We're teaching finance or relationship or, how to shift yourself psychologically, emotionally, or how to shift your body. We still use that kind of secret sauce to make it happen.
I first heard your name from my speech therapist. I think it was 14, 15 years old. And he had done something called the fire walk, which was invented by a woman named Molly Turkin. She had taught you it the year before.
Well, it wasn't invented by Tony Robbins. It's been around for thousands of years.
But it's all good. Yeah. So she showed it to you, I think. And 1.5 million people have been through the fire walk. And I thought, gosh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then Unlimited Power came out and changed my life.
I'm touched that it did. How old were you when they were reading it?
I was a freshman at Michigan, University of Michigan. I thought, just thinking about my speech and just sorry.
Don't be sorry. I'm really touched that it moved you so much.
Stop.
And I find the only place that you should never have sadness or any embarrassment of tears, because water out of the eyes is one of the few places liquids can leave your body publicly and be okay.
Yeah, I mean, well, thank you. And it was, I worked so hard to learn how to.
The other Kleenex ram was up in here. I'm really touched. I'm good. I'm really touched, Andy.
I'll leave these here.
Down here, select.
I suffered for so long, learned how to speech, and we go to McDonald's, so I learned how to say, "Can I have a hamburger?" I mean, it was just a lot of work every night, and I thought, I worked so hard to do that. I was a good student. That was something I can control.
Yeah, I understand.
The hardest worker. I mean, I graduated top 1% of my class at Michigan, and so I was working my ass off.
Yeah,
and in that book, there were two things in that book that, from the same story which you've already told, that really made an impact on me. First of all, is your boldness 2 years before you wrote that book, when you went and said, I can improve your shooting by 50%. You had no training in pistol shooting. You never held a gun or shot a gun before, which is just mind-boggling. I'm like, God, how the fuck is that possible?
Yes.
And then the fact that you did it, and it really said, it's the power of the mind. And
yes,
so much of my success today is really just thinking about things, I think, in a different way than most people. I mean, we'll talk about preparation in a minute here. And I think, there's good preparation, there's great preparation. And then if you think of the world's tallest building with the spire, is very thin air. It's like a pin at the top of that.
Yeah.
And it really, like, that pin reminds me of the focus that you talked about. And it also talked to me about how to get to that focus, and that anybody can do it.
Yeah.
It really changed my life.
Wow, I'm really touched to hear that. That's beautiful. Well, you've had an amazing life. I'm sure you've shared on air, but I've done my homework on you too. I mean, company founded, 25% of the internet, 30% of the internet goes through it, $19 billion company, and all the other companies you built, your passion for beaches. And so I'm so touched. But you know what I really respect about you, Randy, and I find true, is some of the most successful people in the world had pain initially that drove them, because it wasn't easy for them, so they'd overcome it. It's like you look and say, how is it somebody, you can give them all the love, support from a family, all the education, economic well-being, and they spend their life going in out of rehab, and somebody else, life steps all over them, and somehow they develop a hunger to do more, to be more, to give more, to share more. And you obviously have that, and you lived your life that way. So when I agreed to this interview, because I saw the results that you created, because I have great respect for that, but I guessed, or hallucinated, I didn't know, I guessed that you probably had a pretty rough being. Now, you don't have to have a rough being to have that hunger.
Yeah.
But like I said earlier, would I really feed 1 billion people if I was well fed? Maybe I fed 100,000 people. I don't know. Maybe I've fed 10,000. Maybe I've fed 2. But I think it's important for people to know what you just experienced, that the worst of times really is designed to be the best of times, but it's our job to use it and not let it use us.